Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another one of our social emotional workshop series. Today, our topic deals with how to help our young people, children, our students deal with co-parenting and divorce in the family. Joe, welcome back. We're so glad to have you again.
Yes, thank you, Tony. Okay, I named this session Yay to Christmases because of this movie here. If anybody remembers the movie Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell, they got divorced and the kids were like, yay! They were so happy about the divorce because they get to have 2 Christmases now. But it wasn't a very popular title. When I did run this at the parenting conference last year, I didn't get a high turnout, and I don't know if everybody got the little phrase "Yay 2 Christmases." And I only had about 12 people in my group. But I really like this training because it has some really great information on what kids go through during the divorce, what parents can do on how to have those healthy detachment and raise that healthy child with the effects of the stressors of divorce and stuff. So this first one here is, what influences that reaction? The age of the child will influence the reaction of divorce, and I'll read a few of the reactions here from this book. This all comes from a program called Start Making It Livable for Everyone. It's called SMILE, if anybody's ever heard of that, in Macomb County. Anybody who's going through a divorce in Macomb County, through the courts in Macomb County, they are summoned to go to a SMILE program, which is once a month, and it's held at Macomb Intermediate School District, or no, not at the MISD, it's Macomb Community College, South Campus. And it's about a 2-hour program that all people going through a divorce, parents, have to sit through. There's a judge that talks about what happens on his role. There is a lawyer that talks about what the lawyer's role is in the divorce. There's a friend of the court representative talks about their role. And then Teresa or I go in there from care and we talk about, the relationship. We talk about what the kids are going through. We talk about, some parenting skills on how to deal with those child's reaction to divorce. And the reason I'm telling you that is every month between 100 and probably 250 people are in that room. So there's probably an average of almost 200 divorces going a month in Macomb County. So that was just kind of astounding to me. So I got a lot of this from this booklet here. So the ages, young children, they react to what's happening in an emotional way. So they'll cry, they'll cling, they'll become demanding. They may blame themselves for the divorce and feel guilty. Elementary age kids, children this age feel that loss of the family when divorce happens. Loyalty conflicts are common, like who do I love, mom or dad? So they're conflicted between both households. They feel abandoned, might start having problems at school with friends. And, some friends' conflicts may surface. Younger teenagers during the early adolescence may have more stress, which may result in their feeling rejected and ashamed or angry at their parents. And they camouflage that with their sense of vulnerability. So they feel all that, but they kind of hold it down. They don't want to look like it's affecting them, so they hold all those emotions down. So they might have problems with sleeping, have health problems, school or friends problems may arise, the feelings of guilt and depression and despair. And older teenagers, divorce may take teenagers and may feel hurried to achieve independence. So they feel like they need to grow up faster. When they aren't ready to grow up faster, they become overwhelmed by the unsolved problems and feelings of incompetence. So they feel like, okay, I need to grow up. I don't have the tools. Now I feel incompetent and, lower self-esteem and such. So teenagers may test their parents' concern for them. This age group may become preoccupied with survival of the relationships and mourn the loss of the family and their childhood, feel embarrassed, resentful towards the parents. So at a lot of different ages here, there's different reactions. And most of those reactions are going to come with their communication. Maybe they were really communicative, and then during the divorce, they stopped communicating much. Or maybe they weren't very talkative, and all of a sudden they are more talkative, but more reactive. So any type of change in behavior or emotional state, you can see that's a reaction to those stressors that that child's going through. So we need some tools on how to address that. Gender could influence the reaction. They say girls handle divorce better than boys earlier in the divorce when they're younger. And then, but the girls are more affected later on in their lives, as in when they start becoming, adolescents or young ladies and young women. The temperament of the child is going to be an influence on how they react. So are they able to change things that they do? Are they introverts? Are they extroverts? What is their temperament? What is their, what's it called? It's the tolerance, their tolerance of change. So what type of personality does that? And all those different things are going to affect on how that child's going to handle that divorce or separation. But the number one most important thing that's going to affect that child's reaction to the divorce is the degree of parent conflicts, on how parents treat each other. So 3 objectives that we're going to talk about. Staying child focused. And CARE has a program called Cooperative Parenting and Divorce. And a lot of the information is taken out of this curriculum also. So it is an 8-week process, an 8-week curriculum. We meet once a week for 8 weeks. And it wasn't very highly attended. Everybody needed it and wanted it, but when we ran it, only 1 or 2 parents would show up. So we actually canceled the program. But in the first day of the program, we have name tents that we would put each individual, they put their name and their children's names. And on the facing, the side of the name tent that's facing the participant, we're told them to bring a picture of their child and paste it onto that name tent. So whenever they're talking, whenever they're sharing, whenever they're dealing with any anger or conflict or discussion, to look at that picture, because we need to stay child focused. So whenever these strong emotions come up, look down at that child, because it's all about that child. We're going to need to redefine the relationship with the former partner. You were together and now you're not. We'll talk about that, and some anger and some kind of conflict resolution. So that beautiful blonde boy right there, that is my baby. That's my Alex. And this is what 30 years of parenting will do to your hair. I miss my jet black hair. Well, I'm showing you this picture because I didn't think my child was going to be affected by a divorce, because I never got divorced. I never married his mom. So I had my firstborn here, Alex, out of wedlock. I was 25. And I didn't think he was going to be affected, because he didn't go through the stress of seeing mom and dad together and then, separating and then having all of those situations. He just was born into it. But I made all these mistakes that I'm about to show you to prevent some of the mistakes that you may be making, or maybe have a family member that may be making. And these are the divorce games. And I wish I would have taken this class when I had a child that I was co-parenting with his mom with, because I made a lot of these mistakes. A divorce game is I Spy. When that child comes back to your house, you use him as a spy. So what's going on at mom's house? What did dad do? Did dad have somebody over? Does he have a girlfriend? So when you're using your child as a spy, nobody wins. The tug of war, that game is kind of, you're fighting over visitation and time spent with each other. It just continues the conflict after the divorce. Children usually lose respect for both parents when you're fighting over that child or the children. Messenger is another game nobody wins. This is where you use your child as a messenger. Tell your mom that the visitations changed. Tell your mom that, child support is going to be late. Tell your mom that I'm not going to change my weekend to have her go on vacation. We don't want to use our child as a messenger. We need to communicate directly to that person. And if you can't, then you have to tell another adult, but don't use your child as the messenger. This is another big one. What will I do without you? This is when we dump all of our emotional pain onto that child. What would I do without you? You're my everything. When you're at your mom's house, I feel so lonely. And you're putting all that emotional pain onto that child. If you are dealing with those emotions, you need to get some help. You need to talk to an adult or some counseling, but you don't share those hurt emotions when that child is not with you, or how you feel when that child's not with you. The money game, that is, talking about the child support and what does mom or dad do with the child support, and you're always kind of talking about the money. I'm starting over. This is a funny one. I don't know how prevalent it is. I mean, I see it in our society a little bit. When somebody gets divorced, that person, whether it's the mom or the dad, they're starting over. So they start dressing like a teenager again, right? I'm getting back into the dating scene, and I'm going to start dressing really young looking and taking on the language and the slang terms of your teenager. And it's really embarrassing for that child. I owe my kids. So this is when you feel guilty. So you let them off the hook for their behavior, or you buy them, shower them with gifts because you're not in their life, or that you just are making up some mistakes by buying them. And kids feel it. They might enjoy all the presents and stuff, but they will feel the hurt of and the manipulation of those gifts and the money. Over my dead body. This is kind of custody and visitation games where you're going to demand a certain thing from that co-parent. Over my dead body, this is going to happen, and that is just really painful for that child. Children feel at fault in these games. Like when you use them as a weapon like that, they feel like it's their fault that mommy is hurting daddy or daddy's hurting mommy. Name calling, that one's obvious. They want whenever you say something about that parent, that is the other part of their heart. That's the other part of their lives. So any name calling is really hurting that child. The guided missile. This is where a parent may try to use the child as a weapon to change the other parent's behavior or try to get something from the other parent. So you use that child as a pawn to manipulate what you need, or just to hurt that other parent. Now I've done the I Spy, messenger a little bit, the money game. Oh, I just hated child support and not knowing or seeing that it's not going to my son and such. But I mean, a lot of these games, they meet your ego, but they're really hurting your child. And some other things that hurt your child is the loyalty binds. And I'll give some loyalty binds here. They're a little bit similar to the games, but negative comments about the other parent. Now, I've never disparaged my son's mother. in such a direct way, but I did used to say, I can't believe your mom sent you to school without a jacket. What's going, I didn't really disparage her or use any degrading language, but I would kind of call her out on her behavior. So those are kind of negative things about the parent. Stress to the child how much you miss them. This is kind of that, dumping all that emotion on there. Like, when you're gone, I feel so lonely or so bad. Oh, that's just tearing. That puts that child in that loyalty bind where I want to go see mom, but dad needs me. And dad's going to be so sad. So that child doesn't know what to do. And that loyalty bind is really emotionally conflicting to him or her. Oh, this is a big one. I see this all the time too. Refuse to sit next to the other parent at activities. Now, this one I didn't. Me and my son's mother, we were very cordial. We didn't have a fight and break up or anything because we were never really together. But some parents, they'll sit on the other side of the bleachers. And that child's playing the game and looks at the bleachers and see mom and dad sitting at separate sides, and that really hurts. And then who does that child go to after the game? Right? The game's over. Now, does that child go to mom's side of the bleachers, or does that child go to dad's side of the bleachers? And it's a really bind that child is put into. Use my child as the messenger. We talked about that. Oh, I used to do this one all the time because I heard that a child could choose who they want to live with when they're 12 or 13 years old. And that is a myth, as I found out later in my life. But I used to always tell my son that, at 12 years old, you can choose to come and live with me, because I thought I was the better parent. I had the more stable life. We ate dinner at the dinner table, and my son's mother had some way of living that I didn't agree with. There's more smoking, there's more drinking, they were eating. Like, I go over there and, mom would be eating at the kitchen table, the stepdad would be eating in the living room, and the kids are eating in their bedrooms. One kid, my son, in his bedroom, and the other stepchild in the basement. And I'm like, this is family dinner? And it really discouraged me. So I really wanted to influence my son with my lifestyle, but I have no, what can I say? I have no strength or any role in the other person's house. But I used to always tell my child that he can live with me. Blame the other parent for the divorce. Ask the child to keep secrets, like, don't tell mom, don't tell dad we did this. And all that does is put that child in that situation where they have to lie or just avoid the truth, or if I say this, it's going to hurt mom or dad. Discuss child support. Don't ever talk about the money and where the child support is going. That's not that child's business, and it would only hurt them. And the last one, I make my child feel like I'm the victim. If your mother would have only done this, this wouldn't have happened. If your father wasn't such a jerk. And so those other loyalty binds that really put a lot of pain in our child's life. So with those last two slides here, if you can just remember this single parent mantra, and you say it whenever that thought comes in your head: when I hurt or put down the other parent, I hurt my child. And repeat that over and over as many times as you need if that thought comes into your head. Because whenever you say anything, that child is being hurt. All right, so those are all the games and kind of loyalty binds that we need to avoid. Sometimes it's hard to see that relationship in the other household, or the money, or the time, and we want to address it, but we need to address it without that child hearing or being involved. So now we need to look at this co-parenting partnership in this new relationship called the business relationship. In a business, if I'm making widgets, I need people to buy my widgets. So if I'm the factory and I'm making widgets, I need to partner with companies to buy my widgets. And in co-parenting, I need to partner with my co-parent to raise a healthy child. A business needs long-term relationships for continued business, right? I want to treat my customers really nice so they'll come back and buy my widgets. Just like a co-parent, I need continued long-term relationship for the child's needs. In a business, time and production issues are negotiated. So if I get my delivery late, then I'm going to call the company and say, hey, I didn't get my widgets. What's going on? I'm not going to call and create a big old fight. So just like a co-parent, timing, vacations, birthdays are negotiated for the benefit of the child. So I want to make sure that the production and negotiations are done respectfully and factually. Just like the co-parent, I want to make sure everything is scheduled. A few other ones: businesses don't discuss internal operations. So I'm not going to say that my employee has family problems. He's an alcoholic and he didn't show up today. That's why you're not getting your widgets. No, I'm not going to talk about those internal things of my business. Just like the co-parent, they don't discuss personal matters like my new mate. I'm not going to discuss those personal matters with my co-parent. In a business, you call during working hours with a pleasant and not demanding tone. Just like a co-parent, you don't call them up at midnight to complain about something that happened and that's the only time you can call them. No, you call them during work hours that you know that they're available. And the last one for the business relationship: negotiate differences, discuss facts rather than feelings and emotions. Same thing when there's a problem with the co-parenting, you're going to talk about facts rather than emotions. And that's going to be so hard, but I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. So let's look at that new relationship now. We need that common goal, that business relationship common goal. We need to be committed to a win-win relationship, right? A business relationship. I need a partner to sell my widgets to, and I need a healthy co-parenting partnership to raise that healthy child. Negotiate the differences, and I'm going to talk about ways to do that. Limit their relationship around specific topics. So that's the things we don't talk about certain things. We're just going to be child focused and talk about what needs to be talked about for the benefit of that child. Observe common courtesies, communicate with facts, not feelings. Easily said, but there's a lot of emotions going on here. All right, this is from the child's mouth. I love this video. I can watch it a dozen times in a row. Let me make sure my audio is shared here. All right, let's hear a 6-year-old girl talk about their parents' divorce.
No one else than me. Mom, are you ready to be his friend?
Yes.
Try not to be that high up to be friends. I want everything to be low. Okay?
Okay.
Just try your best. I don't want you and my dad to be replaced and meanies again. I want you and my dad to be placed as settled and be friends. I'm not trying to be mean. I just want everyone to be friends. And if I can be nice, I think all of us can be nice too. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm trying to do my best in my heart. Nothing else than that. I want you, Mom, my dad, everyone to be friends. I want everyone to be smiling, not like being mad. I want everything to smile. Especially when I see someone, I want them to smile. Especially Nana, everyone. I want everyone to smile. And if that's for my dad and you, Mom, I think you can do it. I think you can settle your mean heights down a little to short heights. Then it's both, okay? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be a bully. I'm trying to be steady on the floor, not way down, on straight, on the middle where my heart is. My heart is something. Everyone else's heart is something too. And if we live in a world where everyone's being mean, everyone's going to be a monster in their future. What if there's just a little bit of persons and we will eat them, then no one will ever be here. Only the monsters in our place. We need everyone to be a person. Everyone, including me and my mom, everyone. I just want everything to be settled down. Nothing else. I just want everything to be good as possible. Nothing else.
Thank you, Tiana. Come and give mommy chụp chụp. I love you.
I love you too.
Wow. If anybody needs any Kleenex to have any tears, I've seen a lot of scripted parents, videoing their children, but that was not scripted. That came from that child's heart. That was amazing. All right, Jenna for president when she grows up. Okay, problem language. So I need you guys to help me correct this language. So a lot of times through a divorce, we might say my ex-wife or ex-husband. And what do you think that child's feeling when you're saying, oh yeah, my ex-wife, and your child's like right there or in the other room? So how could we give that a more positive spin?
My name, saying their actual name.
Oh, all right. Yeah, absolutely. So directing them or addressing them with their actual name.
Maybe my child's father.
Yeah, my child's father, my child's mom.
Mm-hmm.
All right, those are great. I used to have a family. How can we change that? Tony, we touched a funny bone in Tony.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I mean, could be a lot of pain in that. Yeah, I used to have a family if it wasn't for, and then they finish that sentence. Could anybody change that to something more positive for a child to hear?
Well, you could say something to the effect of things we weren't able to work things out, but we still, we still love you, and we're still going to work together as a family unit, even though we're not a unit anymore.
All right, I like that. That's pretty good.
I think you would say my family, because it doesn't change who the kids are to you, so it's still your family. It's still your, different.
I like that. That was awesome. So I used to have, what do you mean you used to have a family? You still have a family. Now you kind of have two families, or the child has two families. Awesome. Now I knew this young lady. We worked together in the restaurant business, and she had so many people. She was 20 years old or 18 years old. I worked with her for a few years, befriended her quite well. I still know her to this day. But she says, if one more person, like her boyfriends and stuff, if one more person says I'm from a broken home, I'm going to start throwing stuff. It just hurt her so much. So how can we change this language? Our child is from a broken home. How about our
child has two homes?
There you go. Our child has two homes. Lives with me half the time and lives with his mom half the time.
Yeah.
Not he lives with me half the time. He lives with my ex-wife. No, there's a problem.
Yeah.
He lives with his
I-
mom half the time.
I live this language. I am in a situation, I'm stepmom.
Okay.
And I'm very, very fortunate. I know it doesn't work this way for everybody, but over the years, my husband's ex-wife and I have become friends. And so we do every holiday, every birthday, everything, we do it together. So
Mhm.
sometimes our kids kind of say, we don't do 2 Christmases because we do it all together. I'm like, yep, we do. And they
Yeah.
also know, I suppose I'm going to hear every lecture 3 times. And we're like, yep, you sure are. So, and or I get the, you've already talked to my mom about this, haven't you? And I'm like, yep, we've already chatted. We've already made a decision. So,
That's great.
we're in a situation where but I know it doesn't work that way for everybody. We're very lucky that we are able to function that way.
Yeah, that's an ideal situation. Go ahead.
I've heard people not refer to their stepmom as their stepmom. They'll say my bonus mom. If it's like a blended family, and they'll say she's their bonus mom, not stepmom. So,
I like that.
I got it right.
I'm going to start using that.
feel free. I didn't, it's not patented or anything.
Yeah.
I didn't come up with it.
I just wrote that one down. I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
When my stepson was really younger, we were at the library and the librarian said, well, maybe your mom, something. And he goes, that's not my mom, that's my Julie. And I was like, there you go.
All right. There's that name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to have that ideal, it looks like an ideal relationship, an open relationship, but when there's a contentious divorce and there's anger, it's really hard to get rid of that pain. And we might use this language kind of on purpose or just emotionally. But those are great comments. Thank you, guys. Oh, my child visits me. Oh, this is kind of, don't want to be gender specific, but a lot of men say, yeah, my child's visiting me.
Or I have to babysit. That one
Oh.
gets me.
Oh, yeah.
You don't babysit your children, you raise them. I don't know.
Yeah, my child visits me. No, I get to, my child's coming to live with me. I get to spend some time with my child. My child comes to see me on weekends. Anybody have a nice creative one for that?
We're going to spend some quality time together this weekend.
All right, yeah. My child comes to live with me on weekends. Blank has custody of the children, so mom has custody, dad has custody. And that's a hard one. And I don't know, to talk about custody with adults is great, but to hear that language, for a child to hear that language, it's really, so what are they? Are they the widgets I just talked about in the business relationship? Are they just objects?
Can one have custody of the child, but you still consider yourself co-parenting?
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that's the safest route, or co-parenting.
Yeah. Well, there's the, they can have the custodial custody, legal custody. Now, number 8 there, or I skipped over the failed marriage. I had a failed marriage. And if the child hears that, maybe they're in the other room and you're talking on the phone, what do they think? Are they part of that failure? Did they cause that failure? My marriage didn't work out. We grew apart. And then to use that other visitation agreement, custody agreement, so that child just feels like an object or that widget. Any other problem language that you hear? So when this does come out of our mouth, we just need to correct it. We just need to say, wow, that didn't come out right, and you just correct it. Now, in this cooperative parenting and divorce, the first day we give them 3 rings. And this is a family, mom on one side, dad on the other side. And I don't want to keep on saying mom and dad, just if there is same sex families, you know, could be two moms and two dads with a child. So we give them these two rings and we tell them to put them in relation of what your house looks like. When we're single, there it is. One person on one side, one person on the other side. But when we get married, we are joined together. Now, some marriages are like that. Some marriages are a little bit more intersected. So I have them put those rings on when you were by yourself and now you're together. And it's really amazing on seeing how close they put those rings overlap. One person put one right on top of the other. And I was like, wow, that's pretty deep. And it reminded me of this quote that when two become one, one is lost. So if you're that much into, where's the individuality of each of those people? But I'm not here to judge on where those rings go, but I have them put those rings together on where the relationship is. Now you're married, now you have a child. And that is the relation of those rings on top of the cover I showed you. Some marriages might be like this with a child closer to one parent. And I have them put the rings on what they feel. Or there might be a tug of war. And that ring is stretched. Or there might be a totally absent parent. So now the one parent with the child and the other parent is totally detached, but you see that child ring, a part of it is gone, because without that other parent involved, they're missing pieces of their heart. That child is both those parents. Now, if that one parent is absent, that child is longing for that love. That child is longing for that peace. Or maybe you're the one that won't let them see the other parent for whatever reason. There could be some legal reasons of abuse. It could be addiction. It could be keeping that child safe. Although that child does need a piece of that parent. So sometimes I tell the co-parent that as much as you can't stand the other parent, you picked them for a reason in the beginning, for one. Right? So that person was okay for a little while, whether you got married or not. But that person might have a great sense of humor, might have a great skill. So whenever that child visits that other person, you have to allow that child to love that other person and pick up whatever qualities maybe that you saw in the beginning that child can pick up from that co-parent. But keeping that co-parent totally absent really hurts that child. So we have this emotional divorce. It says we need to achieve an emotional divorce, to let go of the past. Denied feelings are really destructive. So if you're just going to oppress and deny the pain, it's going to really grow in you and leak out in your behavior and other relationships. I don't know if anybody's heard of Harville Hendrix here in the bottom left. He wrote this book back in 1983, but they've updated it and reprinted it all the way, probably presently 2019. Well, he wrote a book called Getting the Love You Want, and talked about how our relations with our parents kind of grew into what we're attracted to and when we pick a mate later on in our lives. And then if we pick that mate through the dysfunction of our childhood, that it doesn't have some healthy outcomes. But unless you have an emotional divorce and deal with those feelings, those destructive feelings that you may not be aware of, until we deal with those, you're going to keep on picking partners that are familiar to you, but not helpful to you. Maybe because of that dysfunction from your childhood. Now, the stages of grief, kind of relate to divorce. So there's the first a denial, I can't believe this is happening, an anger that it's happening, a bargaining, if I only did this, this wouldn't have happened, then the depression and acceptance. So we really need to go through those stages of grief and deal with those feelings of that divorce. We need to get through the emotional part of that divorce. Or co-parenting. I mean, it's not only the divorce, it could be a relationship that's no longer together. And allowing that child to love both families is so key. So this is the attachment scale. And everybody kind of measures what level of attachment they have from their divorce or their separation. That, you know, from the 0 to 1, 2, and probably 3 over here, you have no emotions to that other person. You have no reactions when they're becoming an idiot. You use your business skills that we learned in those previous slides on just dealing with it factually, not getting emotionally drawn in. We're focusing on the future and staying child focused. And we're disengaged from any of that fighting and any of that contentious relationship. But going over to the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this is when you're still attached. And when you're still attached, you're going to have strong negative emotions, strong reactions to whatever that parent does. You're going to focus on emotions rather than the content. So we're not looking at it as a business relationship. We're looking at that person's behavior, that person's personality. It's going to be really personal. We're going to have frequent thoughts, whether they're positive or negative, about the former spouse. You can still have frequent positive thoughts. Oh, I love him so much. I can't believe this happened. And you kind of want it back. Or negative thoughts of that rotten bop, 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 and just that negative things of all the wrong that that person did. And we're going to engage through revenge, anger, control, and hurt. And when you're doing these, you know that you're still attached. And we really need to get that attachment. We really need to separate. Now, there's ways that we can do this. This is that continuum here to let go of old attachments. Just let go of the pain and hurt. I know it's easy to say, but I mean, if you were in a 5, 10, 15, 20, 30-year relationship and it ended, it's not so easy just to say, all right, I forgive and let go. So we do need to go through the grieving process. We do have to forgive, and forgiveness is for ourselves. We don't even have to verbally forgive the other person. We just need to forgive them in us. And go through a ritual. You know how they have the ritual when you're getting married? You have the 2 candles. You have the center unity candle, and then the 2 people getting married have their separate candle, and they go and light the unity candle. Well, we do a ritual in the class where you have the unity candle lit, and they have the candle, and they light their candle and light their candle, and then they blow out the unity candle. And then they have their candle. So it's almost that in reverse. And after we do that ritual, we don't say a word. It's the end of the it's the end of the second class. We have that ritual to let go, to blow out that unity candle and have your own flame. And they walk out. We don't process it. So the next part on the continuum is the disengaging. This is from the old marital relationship. That relationship is not the same. So now you have those 2 rings that were overlapped, and now those 2 rings are separated. There's a new relationship. Those old habits and patterns, so we need to do all those wonderful things that we used to do together. We need to form new habits, right? Get rid of those old patterns that you used to do together. Now, how do we do this? Increase independence, take that leap of faith. And let me tell you, develop a support network. If you, after the divorce or after the separation, and I had this in one of my relationships, one of my personal relationships, I had a 3-year relationship that didn't work out, but the person didn't have a lot of resources. And I did a lot of the stuff for her. You know, I went and cut her grass and cleaned out her gutters. I have a brother that's a mechanic and he used to fix her car, and she doesn't have a lot of resources. So now when we broke up, I kind of still cared for her a lot, and we were still kind of cordial. And me going over there and cleaning her gutters was just continuing or keeping that emotional attachment. I have to stop. So if there's a husband and wife that separated or divorced, and that husband used to take care of the car, the finances, they need to stop doing that. I know we're saving the co-parents some trouble, but we need to stop doing that, because all that does is continue that emotional attachment. It's hard. That's why you have to take the leap of faith and develop a support network. That my old girlfriend needs to find a landscaper. She needs to start doing the stuff on her own, because the more I'm involved in her life, the harder it is to finish that detachment. And then realign with this new relationship. And we need to take responsibility for ourselves and get our own routines and our own habits and this new business relationship.
I have actually a little bit different take on that. So
please share.
So if, you know, my the kids go back and forth between our houses, and if my husband's ex-wife she needed a ceiling fan put up, and she could have called somebody and hired them, my husband went over there and did it. And I think that spoke volumes to the kids about the respect between them. And I have no problem with that. I'm like, go how, you know, it just showed the kids that, hey, maybe it didn't work out between us, but I can still help your mom. I mean, it doesn't happen very often. I think if you overdid it, I could see your point. If we were constantly over there, it would be weird. But when there's little things that need help around the house, he'll just run over there and do it, because it's the kids' home too. And I think it just shows them that respect. You know, I mean, he models such respect for her and for me and for all of us that I think they've learned a lot from that. I mean, I know that our oldest daughter has, like, you know, I've got a guy's got a lot to live up to. You know what I mean? So,
and that's great. And thank you for sharing that, because that does create a good point, that he is modeling a mature relationship. He's modeling respect. He's modeling caring. He's modeling, you know, how a man treats a woman, and the female in the family is modeling how a female treats a man. So that's all great. And if you could have a separation, a divorce or breakup, and both people are healthy and they're on the 0 end or the 0-1 end of that emotional scale, then yeah, I can go and cut her grass or do a favor for her. But when I was doing that, she was still not emotionally detached. So it was hurting her, and it showed. It showed a lot. So when you have a healthy detachment, so if we were over here in the 0, then I could probably do those things. But if I was at the 4, 5, and 6, not emotionally detached yet, and then I went and balanced her, did her taxes for her, or fixed her car, that's going to mess with her head. That's going to be hard for her. So if you're at the 0 and 1 and 2, you can probably get away with that and do that. So thank you for sharing that. I didn't mean to say that we can't do anything for our co-parent or our ex relationship or anything like that. Good, very good point.
I think I think you're right. It's a total delicate balance. I mean, you have to know boundaries. You have to know where your relationship is. I mean, it takes a long time to get to that point. So
very true. Now, when you were together, you made all kinds of decisions between the two parents, and a few decisions between you know, the child and the other parent. But once you're divorced, all those many of those decisions fall away. There's only a few decisions that you make between your co-parent. It could be schooling, it could be health care, or some of those decisions like that. And then the decisions you make individually, between your child, they become a lot more between the co-parent and the child. They have their decision-making between each other's. So a lot of those decisions that you had are now lessened. So when there are problems that do come up, this is the 3 P's of that problem solving, that we need to focus on the present, not the past. So all those past grievances that you have, or the future grievances that you think you're going to have if this goes on, we can't think about those. We just need to talk about the present moment right here on what the behavior is causing now. Focus on the problem, not the person, especially if you're not emotionally detached yet. If you're dealing with a problem, don't turn it into the person and make it ad hominem, they call it, where you attack the person instead of the problem. And then focus on, this is a big one, focus on one problem at a time, not the universe. So if there's problems of clothes not being returned back and forth, presents or something they can't bring over, or it could be visitation, pickup time, whatever it is, one problem at a time. And you talk about that problem. And if you're lucky enough to solve that one problem, that's it. Don't go to another problem. Don't think, oh, that was easy, let's try another problem. Celebrate the win and go on. Pick the second problem later on, another day, another week. Because if you go into the second problem and that second problem's not solved, then it might affect the problem that was solved, and people walk away depleted and hurt rather than joyful that they solved one problem. So you're solving one problem at a time, and then we're leaving it alone until the next day or the next week. And the negotiations, I think we talked about this in some of the past trainings, where this is just that 7-step, name the problem objectively, leave the emotions out of it, give an opinion, a reflection upon the problem. You know, I have a problem with you bringing our child home, you know, past the time, or past his curfew, past the time you're supposed to bring him back. When you give your opinion about the problem, when you bring him home this late, it really affects our, you know, our time, our homework, our bedtime, the amount of sleep that we need. Brainstorm some ideas. What are ways that you can make sure that you can get them back on time? And then brainstorm on some ideas. Choose the best idea. Try it for a little while. Review it. Put the solution into action and reevaluate. And that kind of looks like this. Name the problem. It could, I used to always send my kid to his mom's in new clothes, and then he would always come back in his old torn up clothes. And I didn't say anything, send him back, new clothes, and pretty soon she's got all the new clothes and I got all the old clothes, and it used to irk me so much until I kind of just have to surrender. And that's really kind of wasn't a problem for me anymore after I matured, but before I really wanted to stop. But whatever the problem is, it could be visitation, it could be homework. They never get their homework done when they're on the weekend, when they're with the co-parent. And then the biggest thing is how it impacts our child, not how it impacts you. How is it impacting the child? So if it's homework, I have a problem with Alex being sent home without his homework being done, you know, Sunday night, because it impacts the child, because we don't have enough time to do it, and he goes to school without his homework being done. I feel overwhelmed when the homework isn't done, because it's really hurting Alex's grades. And then we go into that brainstorming. What I like is, or could we agree on, or how could we prevent this from happening again? And then we start brainstorming ideas. This is just a little step further. Brainstorm some ideas. I don't want to do the homework. I only have them for a weekend. Why should I do the homework? All right, that's one idea. And then we come up with some others and we list a few ideas that we have. We're going to choose the one that's going to work best for my child getting his homework done for Monday morning when he goes to school. And then we're going to review why it worked or why it didn't work. And it's just a nice way to deal with the problem without those emotional kind of attachments. So since we don't have the CARE program or the CARE divorce program anymore, we do have parenting classes that teach all of these programs or all of these skills like the I messages and reflective listening and problem solving. We even deal with a lot of the personal things of the parents, if they're co-parenting or not. But everything that we talk about in a parenting class, you can use with your co-parent. Because remember what we talked about, Teresa talked about last week, that these really aren't parent-child skills. They're really just human skills, relationship skills you can use with anybody. And this divorce care, this is, this person comes to the SMILE program at the college I talked about, and he talks about a free program for the family. The kids go in one room, the parents go in the other room, and they have a whole divorce care support group. And it's really needed and effective. And they feed you, it's all free. They have food and they have fun, and all kinds of fun stuff happens there. All right, we're at the end of our training here. So I hope you guys learned something if you are in the situation of co-parenting. And if you're not, maybe you have a family member that might should have been in this training here, because usually we're hearing this training, we're like, oh, yeah, these people need to be hearing this. So you can share the information with them. Anybody have any questions, interests?
I have a question.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, do you, a lot of focus is placed on divorces that occur when you have minor children, but what about when you're an adult and your parents divorce? Because I've experienced that, and some people say, oh, it's a good thing it didn't happen when you were a child, but it was devastating because that's how I based marriage, off of my parents. And my dad actually chose to leave my mom 2 months before my wedding. And so it became an empty nest for her and a divorce. And I reevaluated. I said, had I known that was coming, I wouldn't have gotten married at that time. I would have kind of lingered with my mom a little bit because that was a double blow for her, you know. But I don't hear a lot about support for adult children that experience divorce, because it's rough, you know. So.
Wow. Yeah, actually, I heard, you know, earlier, it's probably better if you have that healthy relationship and your parents are mature enough to have that business relationship and deal with your emotions as they come up, you know, with skills. But I heard later on in life, because kids are resilient and kids can get through that. But older teenagers, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, when their parents go through a divorce, they've been married for 30, 40 years, and then they go through a divorce. It's hard on adults.
It is. And unlike Julie, the person that my dad married is not a bonus mom. You know, that's not the situation that we have. So we didn't get a Julie.
Wow, that's really hard. Yeah, I don't have any resources except for that that last slide that I showed you of. I wonder if that would be helpful. That last slide of that divorce care. I know it's for the divorced parents, but it's a support group for all ages. So
yeah, I was just asking. This actually, I know it sounds like it's recent, but this is actually 20 years ago. But me and my siblings, we still suffer the effects because we never really got support for it. So
could I ask what age you were when your parents got divorced?
Yes, I was actually 21 going on 22. I got married young.
Wow.
And it was, yeah, I don't want to turn this into a session for me. I was just curious to see.
Sure.
It was.
Yeah, but I have read the older the child is, it doesn't get easier. And the earlier it is, the child's resilient, has that bonus mom and has a healthy relationship and stuff.
Exactly. And we didn't see it coming. So it was just
Wow.
a mess.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, folks. Well, I hope this is helpful, whether you're in the situation or not, that you can share it with others and know that one person in that relationship has to be the bigger person, the more mature person, the person that starts changing and treating the other with respect. Otherwise, I'm not going to treat you with respect until you treat me with respect, and I'm not going to do this because you did that. Somebody has to break that cycle and start using these new skills and the mature communication and respectful communication and the forgiveness. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Joe. It was great presentation as always. Again, it's a nice little trip down memory lane for me.
Yeah.
Reflecting on different things and going, oh, okay. But yeah, great presentation. Thank you guys for coming. We'll see you all next Tuesday. And we will be talking about, oh, where's my list? On the 23rd. Creating boundaries. Yes, that's what we're talking about. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Tony, I need a date from you about the break that you have. I didn't write that date down.
It is Girl Empowerment will be on April 29th.
Okay, good. So the last one's going to be on 4/6?
No, 5/6. Oh, the first one. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so the last one before the break, the last presentation is going to be, how many times must I tell you, on April 6th?
On April 6th. And then it'll pick up again April 29th.
29th. Okay, great.
And then we've got several after that.
Yep. And if we have a few more, because there is a few topics that Teresa's been working on and stuff, so if